What the city is talking about. This is Montreal Now on News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
I have the names of a number of parliamentarians, former parliamentarians and or candidates in the Conservative Party of Canada who are engaged or at high risk of, or for whom there is clear intelligence around foreign interference.
Wow. Justin Trudeau from earlier today, testimony at the foreign interference hearings being held in Ottawa. James Mennie is on the line. Jim, your reaction to that? I mean, it was described as a bombshell moment. Is it? Was it?
Oh, hell, I don't know about you, but it's a good thing we're on the radio. Right now, I look like Yosemite Sam after a little Festogie in the dynamite shed. This is huge, and I want to apologize to you and to our listeners because I try to keep abreast of what's going on. I had no idea that Trudeau was testifying today in front of that. If I had, clearly, because remember, we talked about this on Thanksgiving during the first bombshell, the first accusation. And I said, listen, don't be surprised if he finds a way to kind of, wire this into the whole, the status of the Conservative Party and foreign interference and so on and so forth. And there we have it. And it's very interesting because whereas the conversation up until now has been rather one-sided with Pierre Poilievre blaming Justin Trudeau for everything from, economic hardship to a rainy day, now it's both ways. Every time Pierre Poilievre pipes up about anything, you can be sure that the reply, whether it's from the Liberal cabinet minister, from the Prime Minister, from anyone on the Liberal side, will be, well, what is it? Why doesn't Pierre Poilievre simply get his clearance to find out what we're talking about? I cannot mention these names because that's his first challenge. In writing, Poilievre says Trudeau, and remember, he's under oath, Trudeau is lying. He doesn't suggest he says Justin Trudeau is doing what he always does. He is lying to distract from the Liberal caucus revolt and so on and so forth. And we'll get to that in a second. But the fact is, they can just turn around and say, listen, we can't, as we just explained in front of the inquiry, we can't go into this. This stuff I got in a classified briefing. There's nothing whatsoever preventing Pierre Poilievre from getting his clearance and finding this out. He claims that if he has that, he won't be able to speak out. Well, sometimes there are things you don't need to speak out about all the time. And it's quite interesting because if he becomes Prime Minister, will he maintain that? Will he maintain that decision? I don't want to know classified information, even if I'm in charge of the government. That's an interesting story for another day. But right now, the conversation just changed big time. The conversation now, no matter what, nasty little 3-word motto that Pierre Poilievre comes up with to criticize Justin Trudeau, Trudeau and company can turn around and say, what is Pierre Poilievre so frightened of, or indeed, what does Pierre Poilievre have to hide? Mm-hmm. That he doesn't want to have the clearance to find out about serious threats to the security of this nation and this government. And I got to tell you, you know perfectly well, better than anybody else, Aaron. I'm not a fan of Justin Trudeau, but he played this one very, very well.
It seems to me when the Conservative leader, as you mentioned, Jim, who has failed to get himself, security clearance like every other, by the way, opposition leader did, including Elizabeth May, right? Yeah. It seems if you're going to not get that and then come out and call the Prime Minister a liar, them's fighting words. I don't know how you dig yourself out of that hole.
Well, yeah, the icing on the cake. This afternoon, I don't know if you saw that Jagmeet Singh, head of the NDP, put out a tweet sort of imploring Pierre Poilievre, you know what, do yourself a favor, get yourself the clearance. I don't understand why you're not doing this. You've got to get that clearance. You'll understand what is going on. All of which also suggests that, guess what, Aaron? You won't be asking, one question you won't be asking, at least between now and Christmas, is, when are the Tories going to table another non-confidence motion against this government in the House? Because let's face it, they are going to get zero support for any of that right now. They are in disarray. And what I find fascinating, and that's the price you pay, I guess, when you're a one-man show. I mean, Pierre Poilievre's Conservatives are exactly like Francois Legault's CAC, right? He is the be-all and end-all. He is the voice and the face and the soul of the party. And not a single person has actually piped up. There are a few people who've come up A few MPs are posting, side things. Oh, look, Mark Carney, he could be in conflict of interest. We should have an inquiry. They're trying to sort of push this bombshell off the front page. But no matter how much any mainstream media may be in the tank for the Poilievre conservatives, I got to tell you, you cannot weasel your way out of this one. It's a simple question, one that people could understand. It's like the old thing, if you talk about billions, people understand. You talk about, a couple of $1,000, people get angry about that. Well, this is not complicated. This is not a matter of policy. Do you want to know about the threats against this country or not? And if you're saying, if I know about these threats, it'll affect my ability to complain, that starts to sound a little bit hollow, starts to sound a little bit tinny the more you say it. So it's going to be interesting to see, A, whether Pierre Poilievre is going to reduce the volume of his, verbiage on a daily basis. And I don't know, in these parts, Aaron, we say jamais vu sans trois. It's been very interesting in these parts since Thanksgiving. Is there a third bombshell that we're going to be hearing from Trudeau between now and Friday?
Tables seem to be turning, huh?
Well, this happens in politics, but the problem is, to a certain extent, Pierre Poilievre dug this hole. Pierre Poilievre is basically, the last thing he said 5 minutes ago. That's the depth of his policy. And when you turn around and you basically put a clamp on his ability to shoot his mouth off, guess what? You've really sort of affected his credibility, if you will. The fact that even though he's cheap clickbait for a lot of media outlets, the fact is right now this is a very simple, fundamental, and bloody difficult question for Pierre Poilievre. Yeah. Why won't you do this? And this idea that I can't speak freely. Every other party leader has somehow managed to be able to speak their mind with security clearance, and yet somehow the head of the official opposition quite flatly is refusing to do so. So, as I say, we'll see if they've thrown the ball out. Let's see if they pick it up and run with it, the Liberals. And as I say, I don't think we've heard the last of the artillery salvo from the Trudeau Liberals. But as I say, it's only Wednesday, Aaron. Come on. We've been having fun since Thanksgiving.
It's kind of like guilty by omission, or whatever the expression would be. You're right, Jim. This is going to be very interesting to see how he plays this. All right, look, let me move on from that, and still concerning Justin Trudeau, but this time what we're calling, I guess, the Palace Revolt. What do you have? What's new on this today?
Well, we got one guy. After today's events, I'm guessing that Sean Casey, who is a Liberal MP for Charlottetown out in PEI, he's feeling a little worse than he was, I guess, when he stepped forward to say, yeah, I'm part of this movement to oust Trudeau. Because he stepped up, and he claims there are others who are going to be signing this document, and they want him to leave. And let's face it, my praise notwithstanding of Justin Trudeau, all the other issues remain. He's past his best before date, and he's putting up a hell of a fight. But I'm wondering if you really think that I don't think Justin Trudeau can do enough damage to Pierre Poilievre for it to make a real difference in the polls or a significant difference in the polls. But all that said, a lot of people within the Liberal Party simply cannot deal with Justin Trudeau. They cannot deal with his lack of vision. They cannot deal, and no, I mean, he just doesn't have that panache, that whatever it was in 2015, which in fact, as I said back then to you, Aaron, he tripped into power. He didn't win the election. Harper lost it. I'll maintain that to my dying day. His majorities have turned into minorities, shrinking minorities ever since. And frankly, I think people just need to see a fresh face and hear a fresh voice. Yes, we're having a heck of a time this week with these bombshells that are being lobbed right into the conservative blockhouse. But in the end, I think the change has got to come. What happened today in front of the Foreign Interference Committee is going to make a lot of headlines. I don't think it's going to change the situation in Ontario. I don't think it's going to change the situation out in the Atlantic provinces. What certainly won't change the situation out west. And Quebec, I think, is aloof to all of this. So, the fact remains there is a movement within the party that says, thanks for everything, but now it's time for you to go. Will today's events delay the denouement of that? Probably, but on the other hand, don't think it's going to stop it. I think this thing is underway. It's just a matter of timing and how can I put it? properly displaying the extent of the dissatisfaction within the party with the leadership of Justin Trudeau.
Jim, I asked the question to start the show. I will ask it now. We got some really interesting calls. Based on this Abacus study, or the Abacus poll, rather, that asked Canadians about voting intentions. So, yes, nothing changed in terms of party because the Conservatives remain well over 20 points ahead. But one of the questions was, do you have a positive or negative impression of Pierre Poilievre? And for the first time in a while, that number is actually net -1. So 40% of respondents said negative, 39 said positive, but that number is up 5 points from just a month ago. What do you make of that?
It goes to show you've got to have more in your bag of tricks than clickbait or ready clip. It's great to have all the journalists making their lives easier. They're all your pals, and they give you all kinds of great coverage. But in the end, if you are irritating the hell out of most Canadians, it's going to show. Now, the fact that he's only at -1 still bodes very, very well. I think Trudeau, last I heard, was at -38. But it shows you how that can change. And quite frankly, if this bombshell today that we've been discussing has legs, if it continues to focus on Pierre Poilievre and, as I say, in quotations, what has he got to hide? You may see those minus numbers get even bigger from poll to poll to poll. That's the real threat facing Poilievre, facing the Conservatives. And history has shown us that the Conservative Party of Canada has a very, very short way when it comes to leaders who do not produce.
James Mennie at the Montreal Gazette. Thank you, Jim.
Dr. Matt.